my name is Dr Grace Mansah-Owusu and I'm currently a researcher at IDS, which is part of Thomson Reuters. So it seems like the masters that I chose, which was MSc Occupational Psychology, was probably the most intense 9 months of my life. It was like all 3 years of undergrad, or third year times about 2 or 3 into one. There was 12 taught modules over 2 semesters, so 6 and then 6.
Really? Yeah.
And then you had your dissertation at the end. So it was just like full of coursework, full of exams, full of pulling my hair out. But it was very interesting because it was quite practical. It's a very big course to do. So most occupational psychology courses only have about 25 students on, but ours had about 45. So there was a lot of people, and the whole school wasn't just occupational psychology, it was health psychology, and other types of psychology all in one. So it was quite nice to bounce off different people from different areas. It's a very multinational university as well. So I made friends from Barbados, India, all over the world, as well as Croydon. The plan was, when I graduated, was to find some kind of consultancy job and develop myself into be a chartered occupational psychologist. But that wasn't really happening. So I had various jobs in HR. So I started off working in Manpower recruitment agency, just a high street one. I did that for a few months. Then I had a random admin job for a while. Then I had another recruitment job at BlackBerry. And then I think I decided by around the December time, so September I graduated, by December I was like, this is not fun. Let me think about doing a PhD. So I applied to quite a few studentships around organisational psychology, that kind of sphere. And I think everybody else also had the same idea, and those studentships were very competitive, so I didn't get any funded places. And then I just thought, I might see if I can pay for it for myself first year and then see what happens after that. So the research area of my PhD is career development or career counselling. I think in occupational psychology, that's one of the accredited areas that you need to have experiences in. So I, for some reason, for my MSc, there was just like a project in there that was like career barriers in blah blah blah. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. We hadn't really covered much of it in the masters, but I thought, let me just do some reading. Did some reading, found out that most of the research was American in origin, around adolescence, career barriers and potential careers. So I thought, hang on, there's a gap here. That's basically what you have to find in a PhD, a research gap. So I basically did the same kind of research, but in the UK, where I live, with 8 schools. I did like 8 focus groups with teenagers or young people aged 12 to 18. So I had a nice taster of what it was like to collect data on that kind of level in a very short period of time. I think I did it in about 3 months, very quick. And in my reading, I found not just adolescent career barriers, but adult career barriers. So that's the idea that was for my PhD. So I wrote a proposal. That's how you get onto a PhD. Wrote the proposal. Somebody liked it and they agreed to be my supervisor. So then my PhD started as looking at, as I've said before, career barriers of Black UK professionals, basically. And then it kind of evolved into looking at this career theory, which was not career barriers, but boundaryless career theory. There is no such thing as a career or a linear career anymore. It's more spread over your lifestyle. You can have more than one career. You can contract for a little while and then do something else in a different industry for some more time. You can move laterally within an organisation instead of just going upwards. Some people don't want to do that. People might need to take career breaks for children, to find themselves, to go travelling. So that's what the theory states. The career interviews that I did were very enlightening and quite interesting. A lot of people had varied careers that they'd originally started doing or having a degree in something totally different. So I had one woman who was, I think she trained as a teacher, and she's got some like random kind of like a management consultancy type job. But she also was a backing singer for 20 years before she got the current role she was in. And so that shows how true to life you could say Boundaryless career is. Like, at the moment, she is rooted to the organisation. However, she does dip in and out. She's like a fitness instructor at the same time. And I think she still sings, but not as much. So it shows you can have 3 careers in a lifetime. So many people had like different interests that they still kind of pursued, but their main job was their 9 to 5 job. So that was interesting seeing that. And in terms of, I also looked at like discrimination to see if that was prevalent in the sample in the workplace. And contrary to a lot of the research from America and just in general theories, both gender discrimination and racial discrimination, the sample didn't feel that it affected them explicitly at all. So that was quite an interesting finding. I, like you, worked throughout. So Brunel University has an affiliation, has like a private college working alongside it for international students. So I was teaching there to fund myself. And that was a really good way of getting used to academic life. Teaching, planning lessons, marking, getting involved in meetings with senior members of staff, senior lecturers. So that was good. But it was just very hard to juggle. So you go home, you've got like 120 scripts to mark, but you also have to write a chapter. And then you've got someone asking for tutorials, even though they haven't turned up to like most of the lectures. So you basically, they want you to tell them what they missed and you're like, no. So it's quite hard to juggle. Emotionally, I think if you're going to do a PhD, you need about 5 emotional punching bags throughout the period of time. Not punching bags, shoulders to cry on, because it is very isolating. I personally didn't work on campus when it came to my PhD. I've preferred to stay at home and do it because that's how I worked best. I found working on campus quite oppressive and a bit depressing. But that's not the case for everyone. It depends on your department. It depends on its size. Mine was quite big. So the friends that I did make, some of them had full-time jobs or part-time jobs. So it was hard to like find time to sit down and do the work with them. So it was an interesting experience doing a PhD. It's one of those things you can't really describe unless somebody else has done one. No one else gets it. So it might seem like a good idea. It is a good idea. It's not a bad idea. I don't regret that I've done it at all. But it's you need to kind of take things into account when you're doing one. Whether you want to do one full-time, part-time, how you're going to pay for it if you don't get funding. There's a plan B. If you've got other commitments, that all needs to be factored in. Right. I suppose they do think you're an expert in whatever the field is that you're going into. So they'll ask you questions about, choosing this psychometric test, do you think this is the best one? Or you might have to do a little bit of, I suppose the word is education, about the selection process and how you use it and how to integrate it into the process instead of just throwing it in just because you might think it's a good thing to do. So maybe being the voice of reason would go down well, but trying not to be a know-it-all at the same time. Well, first of all, make sure your undergraduate is accredited, because otherwise you have to do some conversion stuff and that just takes a long time. So you can go on the BPS website and find out which ones are. I didn't actually do this before. It's just by chance that it was accredited. And then when it comes to the masters, that also has to be accredited. So again, the BPS website is your main port of call for all of that kind of stuff. So during your undergrad and postgrad, your masters, make sure you get as much exposure to organisations. Just go on Google, find occupational psychology firms. Hopefully they'll be kinder to you than they were to me. Find friends, anyone in HR if you can't get into an occupational psychology firm, and just keep emailing them for work experience. I think there are some schemes popping up in the bigger firms, so I've said SHL. There's another firm called Pern Candola, and they're based in Oxford as well. A, D and C, I think. So there's a few of them, the bigger firms that I think would be more willing to accept people who do work experience. So those kind of roles. Don't be afraid to kind of be more abstract in your thinking as well. So like I said, a lot of bigger commercial organisations will have these people in-house. And if they don't, they'll have at least people they consult with, for example. A lot of people outsource. Like the psychometric test side, someone else would have gone in there and did that. So those kind of organisations are quite good as well. Another thing actually people should think about is starting their own businesses. I think if there aren't any opportunities out there for you in-house, you might need to start somewhere. So start in an organisation, find some contacts, go to conferences, go to networking events, and find if there is a gap in the market, and there are several, and then try and branch out by yourself to a certain extent. If you have the right networks, I think that is possible, and that is something that I would like to do eventually. I like the idea of doing like career development, but with teens and young people and vulnerable people, as well as corporate organisations at the same time. So those kind of coaching, mentoring type programs I'd like to develop and then offer those out. That's one idea. I have several. That's what happens when you do PhDs. You've just got loads of ideas all the time.
Okay, great. So where did this all lead to then? So what is it that you're doing now? How long ago did you graduate from your PhD?
I graduated in December. I finished everything September 2013. Graduated December 2013. I had another, so from August last year, so August 2013, I was just doing contracting, that's the word they use. I was contracting, doing project management, like HR and project management, but it wasn't a permanent role, so I was looking for a permanent role, and I finally found one a month ago. So the role I'm doing now is kind of academic, but in a commercial organisation, which was perfect for me. I like being in academia to a certain extent. I like the research side, but I wanted the freedom of working in a commercial organisation, so where it was a little bit more flexible. So what I do at the moment is research organisations, HR policies, and that's any organisation really. And then basically write up case studies. So I conduct interviews with people and then write case studies about them. So it's a really good environment because most people have kind of done similar degrees, or usually like social sciences. I think there's a couple of geographers. But then there's also people that haven't done psychology at all. So language students or math students, whatever. So it's a nice environment to be in because people are familiar with the research side. And that was perfect for me. That's what I was looking for.